Dear Reddit, what industry is shadier than most people realize? Trucking industry. I'm a former freight broker, and how they treat other freight brokers and truck drivers is horrendous. People will backstab other workers just to get customers, and we will lie to truck drivers just to get them to deliver. Truck drivers will hold loads hostage to get paid more or on time. That stuff happens all the time. Internet pornography. My brother works for a major internet security company, and he's told me that if you've ever been to a porn site, you've almost certainly been exposed to malware. Worse than that is the rampant use of women who are not participating willingly. I have a friend who used to work in the porn industry. At one time she was considered a major porn star and somewhere has an AVA trophy for being the #1 MILF in the country or something like that. The movie for which she won the award included a scene that resulted in trauma, that resulted in multiple surgeries to fix her rectum. During the 20 years she worked in the industry, she was owned by a pimp who collected all her paychecks and beat her bloody if she didn't perform to his standards. The same pimp owned multiple other women whom he also sold to porn producers. Almost all of those women were dead before she left the industry. She went to a photo shoot at Playboy once after her pimp had ripped the hair out of half of her head. The makeup artist barely blinked, just combed her hair to cover it, and the photographer just told her to turn her head so the camera wouldn't pick it up. That was Playboy, not a back alley porn production company. She worked for a major porn production company for a while, Vivid, I think, back in the 90s. After the filming they would get the women drunk and then squeeze their toes with pliers. The moans and screams they made were used for the orgasm scenes. It's not a benign industry. Multi-level marketing. Amway, Herbalife, Plexus, Vema, Kirby, Vector, Shakeology, It Works, and other such companies run cults where business owners are brainwashed into believing that they can get rich quick while putting them on a path to failure. In the meantime, those at the top of the pyramid schemes become rich at the expense of others, who almost always lose tremendous amounts of money, as well as having their lives and relationships ruined. Electronic dance music industry. A scary majority of big name artists have their music ghost produced by another producer. They never touch the music, never play a note. They buy finished work and put their name on it. Most of the music that is popular right now is produced by only 5 or 6 guys. Most acts are playing a pre-recorded, pre-mixed DJ set. You're basically watching someone jump up and down and do no type of music performance, beat matching, mixing, etc. Think Milli Vanilli, but can't even dance. DJ Mag Top 100 ranks are paid for by purchasing ads in the magazine throughout the year. Click farms are also popular. Followers, fans, likes, plays, all paid for. Huge fake it till you make it mentality across the entire industry. Booking agents then strong arm promoters into booking acts with popularity that is artificially inflated, taking huge losses. Major festivals take advantage of disaffected new/young artists by either not paying or paying incredibly low booking fees. This is good promotion for your career is a common phrase. Record labels buy their own releases in order to make them chart on sites like iTunes, Beatport, etc. Known as juicing. Can keep going, but I think you get the picture. The funeral industry. While there are funeral directors of high integrity, many funeral businesses charge huge markups on everything from casket prices to flowers, obits, memorials, graves, and monuments. The funeral industry serves an important need, but it can take advantage of people at times of bereavement and charge excessive prices at a time when they are vulnerable. Here's a coffin for $25,000. http most-expensive.com/coffin. Medical imaging software. You know the stuff doctors use to look at x-rays and stuff on computers? Most companies just want to make a sale. They don't care if it works or not. I worked at one as an engineer. Their tool for measuring tumors was completely broken. They would either measure too big or too small, which is horrible in either case. You can go into chemo without needing it or not get chemo when you need it. I couldn't do anything in that company to persuade them to fix those bugs. They were only concerned about pushing new features out. All they care about is money. I quit with a very bad taste in my mouth. Please seek out a second opinion if you have medical issues. New York City Marshals. Marshals enforce court orders, including those where money changes hands. For example, child support and alimony. Marshals get a cut of every single payment made by court order. Every child support check, every alimony payment, etc. As you can imagine, most of the time these payments are made automatically, but the marshals get a cut nonetheless. There are a tiny number of marshals, considering the sum of money changing hands in a city as large as New York. These marshals rake in millions upon millions of dollars per year. They pay a deputy staff to do the actual work and then skim whatever they can off of the top. Marshals are appointed by the mayor for 5-year terms, but in practice the same guys are marshals for their entire lives, and because each marshal runs a multi-million-dollar business, often the business passes from father to son. There have been multi-generational dynastic marshal families in New York City for over a century. The answer is every industry. We all know about the particular industry in which we are involved. Knowing human nature, why would it be different in any other industry? Maybe some are slightly less shady due to established markets or regulation, but on the whole shady people are not too discriminating on where they set up shop. School photography. I worked for a small studio that was looking to break into the school photography business, and the whole thing is a racket. Ever wonder why your kid's shitty photos are so expensive? It certainly isn't because the photographers are well compensated, well trained, or talented. I'm looking at you, Lifetouch. It's because the schools get a huge kickback from the companies based on the number of photos they expect to sell. I have talked to principals who have admitted that the bulk of their discretionary spending comes from these kickbacks. These shitty companies have a stranglehold on the schools, and use may feel like scare tactics to ensure that the schools stay with the shitty companies. Real estate. The financial industry is regulated up the wazoo, but yet real estate agents who are supposed to advise you on what will most likely be the biggest investment of your life can flat out lie to you along the way about a property, and there are essentially zero repercussions. Haven't seen anyone mention aerospace/defense contracts yet. The sheer volume of capital flowing from the government specifically into Lockheed and Boeing alone is simply staggering. Any hint against this, any mention that a tiny fraction of this capital could be going elsewhere is immediately shot down as being non-American for some reason. Some estimates show that if Evan's tiny fractions of a percent of this cash were funneled into fusion research, we would have achieved it by now. Many also don't realize how inefficient this makes the system. They simply see the mind-blowing military technology and conclude, yeah, that's incredible tech. Makes sense because we're putting so much money towards it. If you look at it more closely, you'll see we should actually have much more advanced technology than we currently have for the money that's going into it. The cost/tech is actually surprisingly high. Sure, some of the most advanced stuff is classified, but keep in mind these agencies also need to show off their tech, so the public doesn't start asking questions about where the money is going. The bottom line is that if it wasn't so corrupt, there would be more competitors and we'd be achieving a lot more for a lot less because of the competition that is lacking in this sector right now. Anything to do with insurance/claims. They will dance and sing to have you buy a policy and will even trick you into believing they are assisting you in the best possible way when you need them. Try and ask them to do something they haven't offered, like pay for a new door instead of a used one. They quickly become aggressive. I worked in a retirement home kitchen for almost 7 years. It's scary what they do to old people. Food that legally shouldn't even be called edible. That's one thing. Then the nursing staff that were supposed to escort residents, particularly with dementia, back to rooms and would tell them to wait for a half hour to an hour while the nurses ate. Also, if you didn't pay for the nurse services, they literally will not help. I had a sweet old lady tell me she needed to use the bathroom in a wheelchair. I told a nurse. She told me she doesn't pay for us, let her shit herself. Claims adjuster here. The body shop business. I don't mean the crooked take your car in and they give you headlight fluid kind. I meant a big name. Everyone knows them shops. Your insurance company might tell them replace parts AF, put OEM parts on it. They will take money for OEM parts, then go find aftermarket parts and pocket the cash. Another instance, a shop dropped a transmission and damaged it. The customer only found out about it because he was a car guy and noticed later his transmission was chipped in a corner. Some shops will cut every corner they can to maximize their money. While this one is pro-consumer and insurance fraud, some shops will get unrelated damages fixed so they can up the cost of the estimate and split the profits with the customer. Insurance. Despite what people say, it's 100% about making money and 0% about actually helping people. I understand the point of a company is to make money, but if you're making money literally at the expense of a person's health and wellness, that's absolutely what I would call shady. Like I said too, it's 100% about making money, not at all about providing a service. People that seriously need insurance can't even qualify at an increased price, and it's heartbreaking. And as many would probably already guess, they will take any excuse to not pay out on a policy. Source: myself, working for major national health and life insurance company. Baking, cake decoration especially, it's really competitive. Profit margins are low, with the exception of wedding cakes. Owners cut corners to save money or have unrealistic expectations. You meet too many passive-aggressive or aggressive-aggressive people in the industry to form lasting relationships. Some talented cake decorators step down to work at grocery store just to have a less stressful job and better hours. Anything involving heritage consultants. Developer buys old house on big block, wants to knock it down, pays heritage consultant to do a heritage study on it. Obviously heritage consultant is being paid by someone who wants to knock the old house down. So the report will mention unsympathetic additions when there are extensions. Building is in poor condition because any old building can be considered to be in poor condition when your definition of poor condition is anything other than perfect, brand new condition. Building is not unique in this area when it is surrounded by other old buildings. Building is not in keeping with the character of the area when it is not surrounded by other old buildings. Buildings mass and scale are out of context with surrounding buildings / existing curtilage when the house is a different shape to the surrounding houses. Of course, the local council could pay their own heritage consultant to produce another report that says the exact opposite. Then, the council has to decide between the report that they have had commissioned, which itself is a conflict of interest, and the other report that the developer has had commissioned. If the council decides to refuse the development, the developer appeals to the Land and Environment Court, which almost always approves the development. Or they just pull the building down anyway and pay the tiny fine. It's not a good time to be a heritage house in Sydney.